State inspectors and federal engineers thought the Francis Scott Key Bridge was protected from a ship strike. They knew the bridge was one of 17,000 American bridges engineers call fracture critical. These bridges are fragile. They don't have any structural redundancy. The thing about fracture critical bridges, engineers tell us, is if one of the structural components fail in a bridge like this, the entire thing falls. The National Transportation Safety Board's initial take is the missing structural redundancy was the Key Bridge's Achilles heel. The NTSB's chair said we should stop building fracture-critical bridges.
The preferred method for building bridges today is that there is redundancy built in.
Yet the National Bridge Inventory shows at least 221 fracture-critical bridges built over America's waterways in the last decade. Some are as busy as West Palm Beach's Flagler Memorial Bridge, carrying more than 17,000 cars a day over Florida's intercoastal waterway. Others as mundane as this Virginia bridge in Fairfax County. Google Maps captured the span on Mount Vernon Road being rebuilt in 2022. One of those new fracture-critical bridges that was built in the last decade, it is right here in Washington, D.C. It is the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge carrying South Capitol Street over the Anacostia River. While engineers tell us fracture-critical bridges are not inherently dangerous, they haven't been the standard build for decades. The new standard has been in place since 1991. It was engineers and regulators' reaction to another cargo ship crash that took down Florida's Sunshine Skyway Bridge in the 1980s. The guide specifications for vessel collision design of highway bridges got an update in 2009. Its most significant guidance: that bridge structures be designed to prevent collapse.
When you're designing new bridges, you may make the piers robust enough that they can take a hit.
But bridge engineer Andy Harriman knows most fracture-critical bridges were built before the new guidance.
Now they would have to do a analysis if they're designing a new bridge, and sometimes they go back and retroactively fit bridges with better protection systems. Probably right now, the states are reviewing their navigable waterways right now just to make sure that they're covered and maybe setting up a priority list.
Maryland transportation officials say that's exactly what they're doing, and that the Chesapeake Bay Bridge remains a priority. Built in the 1950s, it is the busiest fracture-critical bridge along America's longest shipping channel. In an emailed statement, the Maryland Department of Transportation tells us all bridge projects, including both new construction and rehabilitation work, are designed to incorporate the latest safety requirements for protection against impact. Federal Highway Administration records show the Bay Bridge has adequate pier protection from a ship strike. It has the same rating Baltimore's Key Bridge did.
There are ways to protect it. It's all money and the degree and the size of the vessels that are approaching.
The size of these cargo ships really emerged as a risk for fracture-critical bridges in 2016. That is when the Panama Canal was expanded, and now it allows some of the largest container ships in the world to pass through it. Just a decade ago, it's very unlikely that the Dolly, the ship that took down the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, would have even been in Baltimore because it wouldn't have fit through the Panama Canal. For the I-Team, I'm Mitch Blocker, 7 News.